Welcome back, whoever is here. Um, wish you a happy morning today, and thank you for being here with us. So, this session is session, and it's going to be a recap of the past sessions that we've done. Our main agenda to have this session today is not so much to give more philosophy or more guidelines from our side, but we want to try and make it as interactive as possible. And really, we are here to take as many questions from parents and help parents to explore the different possibilities of how we can support children with their learning. Now, just to give a recap of our sessions for those who have not joined us earlier in our earlier sessions, this entire series that we have been doing is called Driving Learning Through Families. And this particular aspect is actually very close to our home, to our school, and to our hearts, because the school for very young children itself is called Montessori House of Children. So in our previous sessions, we have said that had children to, if children had to come to school, their setup and what they would do would be very similar to what they would naturally be doing at home, exploring things, finding things that are of interest to them, moving from one activity to the other, interacting with whoever's around them, trying to understand things that draw them towards towards certain things that they want to find out. Now, the main aspects that we spoke about in our previous sessions were how we can support these young children's learning when they are at home, what learning really looks like. And when we talk about learning, we we want to understand what do we mean when we say learning. Is it only reading, writing, numbers? Those are just very few skills that are a part of learning. In fact, there are only three. If you look at the entire gamut of learning, there is a lot that is going on with an individual when they are trying to learn. And first among them is their interaction with the environment, using their hands, using their senses, exploring. All of this helps children to learn. And reading, or in fact for that matter adults, and reading, writing and math skills are a very tiny part of the learning. Many times what happens is, when it comes to learning and academics, suddenly parents may feel that this is where the school has to get involved, or there is some special attention that has to be given to reading, writing and math. And generally our approach is like that. But if you look at children, they are the busiest people that you can ever find. They are all the time finding something interesting to involve themselves in. They're all the time exploring. They're all the time trying to figure, does this happen with this thing, or does something else happen with this thing? What happens when I do something? What happens when I put a block on one on top of each other? Or what happens if I turn this thing around? So in a literal way, they are kind of very similar to scientists. Many people who are developmental scientists, they will say the youngest children are the best scientists you will find. But a lot of the time, we as adults are not able to understand what it is that they are trying to explore. So we want to add information to what they are trying to do. While it is good to add some information, it is also good to observe children and find what is it that they are trying to explore, and what is it that what is it that is interesting to them. And as parents and adults, even in the school, that is what we do. When children are exploring, we kind of take a step back and we observe what is it that they are doing with the material, and that gives us all the inputs that we need to take their learning forward. When I was thinking about this aspect of learning, from the time children are very young, they are the ones who learn to speak. Of course, we are talking to them all the time, and we are answering to their cries, and we are responding to their coos and all of those things. But they have made, if you look at the amount of learning they have already done, they have learned to speak by themselves. They have learned to crawl by themselves. They have learned to walk by themselves. They have learned to eat by themselves. They've learned to do all the things that human beings do by themselves. But suddenly, when it comes to letters and numbers and reading and writing, we feel that something special has to be done for them, because that they cannot do by themselves. And this is something that we need to understand, that as long as we have a support system around the children, all the learning can be done by on their own. And this also includes reading and writing skills and math skills and all other skills, physical independence, coordination of movement. All that they need is support. And the only thing that keeps changing with age is that, from a very physical and emotional form of support, it keeps growing to more intellectual form of support, social form of support. That is all that changes with children, really. Otherwise, you see children at any age group, they are always involved in something, and we need to, as parents, understand what is it that we need to offer as support to these children. There are certain things which we have learned from our online sessions with parents and children that we did in April. Once the lockdown had started, of course, the situation was completely new for us. It was completely new for children. It was completely new for parents. And all schools were trying to figure what best can be done. And in doing so, in the month of April, whatever we did, whether we did videos for parents, we did videos for children, we did online interaction with them across age groups, that was only our immediate response mechanism that was functioning at that time. We had a little bit of planning and strategy, but the entire thing was so new for us that we were only trying to respond to that particular situation. But when we went through the various sessions of engagement, there are few things uh, which kind of came to our attention, and which were also very developmentally true. First thing is, very young children, they did not identify with the screen at all. And as a school, we have always um, not encouraged screen time for children, especially the younger the children are. We have tried to avoid having children on screen. And while our parents were quite happy that teachers are coming online, but when it came to children, they were not interested in who's coming on screen and who's talking to them. And there is a very developmental research input that I want to share over here. When children are on screen, or for that matter, adults are on screen, adults have a very conscious understanding that I need to learn from the screen. For children, it is not so. And the logical abilities, the part of the brain that actually um, is supposed to be engaged in learning, when it is on screen or it's responding to a screen, that part really stops functioning, and it's mostly only on flight and fight syndrome, which is not ideal for learning. The very young children have shown us this. We came onto the screen, and then teachers were saying we actually were speaking to empty chairs and empty shelves, and there was nobody in front of the screen. They came for 1 minute and then they left. And the older children of primary Montessori, they came onto the screen. They were very happy to see their friends. They were happy to see their teachers. And from a social point of view, from social development point of view,
Aditi, Aditi,
they were quite happy to interact. So if you look at only social development, maybe that is what went across to our older children. So this is one thing that we have learned from our online sessions, that no matter how many online sessions we are doing or videos we are making, how much is really reaching these children. And when we were rethinking our strategies about how we want to engage with children and parents going forward, there are two things we want to do. One is to make the children's learning contextual, and make it meaningful for them. So if we are reaching out to them with whatever we have, we want to make learning meaningful to them. We just don't want them to consume screen time. Second thing is, we want to reach out to parents as much as possible, and as personally as possible. These are the two things which we feel will help parents and teachers together to support the children's learning. And whatever is happening with children's learning, in order to make it meaningful, we have to look at what is happening around them in the home setup, because learning that is happening at the moment, only that can become contextual. And that is what learning is. So at that time, a child may be speaking, and we have to support that. They may be playing, we have to support that. They may be exploring, we have to support that. They may be questioning, we have to support that. And whatever it is that they're trying to do at that particular moment, that is the support that is required for children. And that is exactly the same thing that we do in school. So these are the two main things that we want to do going forward. Is one, to make learning meaningful for children and contextual for children, and the second thing is to engage with parents on a personal and frequent level, so that we are really able to reach out to each family and we are able to support them. So the rest of what we have and what we would like to discuss will carry on as the session proceeds. There are a few things that I would like to bring to your attention. Since I've already said that we would like to make this interactive and take as many questions as possible and address them together, whatever questions are coming to your mind as parents, please use the chat space to drop in your questions, and we will try and cover ground by answering those questions and giving also sharing guidelines and philosophy and practice and the support. So we thought that we have had enough number of sessions with parents and with us giving a lot of information, and this session we would really like it to be meaningful to parents and answer as many questions as possible. So that is it from my end. And we have with us Moiza Rafat, who is the founder director of Pebble Creek, and she will also address all of us. We have Mrs. Helen, who is from the Montessori Training and Research Center. She has been with us in all of our previous sessions as well, and she comes with a lot of experience of supporting families across India. Now also she's working on various international platforms, but this is her forte, supporting families, supporting learning and development. So we will hear from Moiza, we will hear from Helen, and then of course we will hear from all of us. Since there are almost around 40 participants here, it would be ideal to use the chat option to drop in our questions and so that we are able to take them forward. We also have Miss Srilata, who has joined Pebble Creek recently. She's joining as a senior Montessori guide and mentor. She is also listening in, and as and when something important comes up and she would like to share, we will invite her as well. So we are really looking forward to having a fruitful and meaningful discussion today. And now it's over to Moiza.
Thank you, Surabhi. You covered, most of it that I would have also liked to talk. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So, what everybody is going through is a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. And many parents are composed with this situation, others are not. And it's fair, like, we all have different reactions and responses to the situations that we find ourselves in. But one thing I would like parents not to feel or experience right now is what is now popularly known as FOMO, fear of missing out. That, if my child is not online, is my child missing out on something? Is something, do we stand to lose something by being away from engagement through the online platform that various schools are doing? So there is anxiety, there is concern, there is FOMO, and okay, they're designing something for their parent. The way their teaching and learning has been shaping up over the years, they're trying to continue that work. Similarly, Pebble Creek has started some work with its community of parents and children and teachers, and we must carry forward that community, keeping that spirit, so that whatever work, we spoke about this in our previous meetings also, that we started on a journey, we started with some work, we cannot abandon that work now because situation has changed. We say now there is a new reality, and that new reality is virtual, it is not real. You see me from a distance, and this is the reality for you, and changing totally. This is not something very safe for a very, very young child. It is understandable. Yeah, it is too much of a risk to push them into something so new, so alien, and so strange, that learning are innumerable platforms that are created not only by schools. There are a lot of players that have come in the market which are saying online this, online that, and learn this. This is what this app will do, this is what our platform will do for your child. But this is the time for composure and logic. We are all confused. So this is the time to maintain composure first and use your logical mind of what we need to do. What do we stand to lose out in this scenario? What are we losing out? Few letters and numbers, a few writing, reading exercises, but rest of it is all available to the child still. Very, very abundantly, it is available. We need to see it, and we need to be able to offer that to the child. That has not gone away from the child. Shirobi already mentioned, most of it, what is available at home for the child, is what has been planted in the school. So home is what we try to recreate, and that's why it is called the Montessori House of Children, designed to resemble a home. So that is one that gives us a lot of reassurance that children really are not going to miss out on something. Now, so let us not look at what other schools are doing. Other schools are doing to the best of their ability to carry on the work that they were doing already. We need to do whatever is possible to the best of our ability to carry on the work that we were doing. We are a Montessori school. We have to carry on the Montessori work. So children come back. They come back safely, happily, and without without us becoming the reason for any developmental hurdles that we create. We should not be responsible for that. We should not create it, right? So that's one thing. And your sense of logic and composure and response to this pandemic is something that the children are learning from you. They are learning how you are responding, how you are panicking, how you are showing anxiety towards this situation. So there is an attitude, there is something that the children are learning and absorbing from all of this that is happening at home and around them on TV, and whatever conversations we are having right now. We all need to know, and we all know it, that this is temporary. It is not going to last forever. This is only a stopgap arrangement, and we have to treat it like a stopgap arrangement, and we have to work like that. Learning is not going to stop. Children are going to learn whether you prepare the environment well or not, whether you support the child's learning. They're going to learn. They're going to learn to become lazy, or they can learn to become proactive. They can learn to come forward and help, or they can learn to not contribute to the work that is happening around. So learning is going on, and you cannot say that they learned the wrong things. I mean, did we prepare with the positive inputs is what we need to look at. So learning is going on. Now we cannot differentiate whether they're learning the right things or the wrong things. That is in the hands of the adults that occupy that environment, are preparing that environment for the children. One thing is that. Now let's look at what really learning is, and what we steal away from children when we tell them that I am in charge and I am in control of the learning. I'm going to give you a very simple example, and this is embedded in the idea of constructivism, that how children construct their learning. And I'll show you a very simple thing, and you need to stay with this idea, think, dwell upon it, and think how you respond to the situation. Can you see this? This is the letter A, right? Can you all see it? Now, the child has this letter A. the natural urge of the child, even if you were not telling them to read and write, would be to recreate this on paper. Okay, one is that you put dots, you hold the child's hand, you make them write, you get them writing copies from the market, and you sit with them and tell them, write like this, I'm showing you, do it like this. That's one way. Majority, 95% of the children are taught how to write letter A, B, C, D, and all the other letters of the alphabet. They're taught like that. It is an imposed thing, and it is done under complete supervision, that this is how you learn how to write the letter A or B. Now you leave this letter A and you leave paper, and it's free choice, and then there is silence from your side. There is no interference from your side. The child starts maybe with a scribble, which is nowhere close to how an A should look like, what an A looks like. Okay, can the child tell that I have not recreated the same thing? Of course, the child knows this is the A I want to make, but my A is nowhere close. That much difference the child can do. And then the child, through his scribble, his or her scribble, will eventually, maybe in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, 1 month time, or 5 months' time, will create his first A. Can you give that time to your child? When you have done this, you have taught him or her a skill for life, that this is how you recreate. He has created his own life skill that you have taught for, you've allowed that construct to construct his own learning pattern. Now this needs, you know what, patience and silence from your side, and faith that eventually my child is going to learn. But we get disappointed in the first scribble. First scribble is wrong, and we all hell has broken loose that, you know, my God, I really have to help my child, and I will interfere, and I will support, and I'll make the child believe that you cannot learn it on your own. So it is a simple thing, learning letters, writing numbers, all of these are skills that children can learn, provided you provide this. The letters are there, the paper is there, and then you have received it in the background, and the child can scribble and scribble and scribble and experiment and try 1,000 times before he or she can reproduce the exact form. And when the child actually reproduces that exact form, they have learned something on their own, and that's a gift that you and we as adults can, that's the only gift that we can give to our children, that teaching them how to learn to do things. And this is exactly what happens at school also. We give them innumerable, there's no upper cap. Any number of times you want to trace the sandpaper letter, trace. Whenever you want to reproduce it, reproduce. And this is how all children have learned letters and numbers at Pebble Creek or any other Montessori school for that matter. This is the only way. And that's what keeps children happy, that they are building, they're telling something to their mind, and that mind is telling something to their hand, and that is the cohesion between the mind, body, and the hand that brings a joy in learning for the child. And this is something that is very easy. It is possible by you. Only thing, you need to prepare and step back. That's something that we really request parents to do, and we will continue to offer help. The teaching team will be ready to offer help. I'll be always available. Whenever you want to discuss this further one-on-one with us, or you want to talk in a group, we would like this to happen at home, especially with a very young learner who's exploring and believing that they can construct their own learning. Preparing your home. What do you prepare your home for? Teachers will talk about it, but I feel it's an important, even if it's repetition, it is good. Repetition sometimes brings in, you know, a point more clearly, because different people will tell it differently. You have to prepare the environment, your home environment, in such a way that the child is able to exercise free choice all the time, whenever he or she wants. Now, if you believe he over minutes, and that is the lovely engagement, that is the satisfying thing, you can have that. I mean, for that matter, you can download also from online. Many things available. Teachers can prepare it, but that's not what we want. We want children to be able to repeat, to develop certain skills. So I'm just giving an example. I just while we were talking, I was looking for things on the table. So if you take a scale, for example, or any shape, it could be a glass rim or a lid or a bottle or the palm or whatever. If you provide them with paper and they just are allowed to trace the shape or the lines around it, there's no outcome of this. There's no outcome that you can see. It looks like an aimless activity, but it is something that will engage children, and they'll repeat it again and again and again. What does it do to the child? It only develops their hand for writing, because that skill of tracing and drawing, all of this is an indirect preparation for better handwriting and doing other things. The skills that the child will, the work that the child will carry on with the hand is going to be strengthened with this kind of activity. So preparing and allowing them to trace things, giving them the permission that this is the paper, these are things that you can pick up for tracing, and they can trace any number of times the same thing. Even if they're tracing circle 100 times, please do not question that why are you tracing it 100 times, because that's exactly what is allowed in the school. We have different shapes, all kinds of shapes, like a triangle, a circle, a rectangle, a rosette, and ellipse. All of these things are available for the child to trace. These are simple things that even you can place in your house, but it should be accessible to the child when he or she chooses or wants to trace. This is an example. There are many such activities that you can place within the access of the child. The child need not come to you to carry on with that work. That's what would help them become independent. So this is a small example I gave. I'm sure the teaching team, which is meeting and planning and thinking so much about the way forward, they will also give you more inputs about how to prepare your home environment, which truly is of help, is of aid to the development of your child. This thing what we are doing is not developmental for the child. Okay, it is not developmental. So what we plan to do is we engage with parents very engage with small groups of parents, so that we keep giving guidance week on week about what you can do. And it's like a very simple kind of a training for parents on Montessori principle, practice, and philosophy, and how that can be implemented at home. So that's what will take place going forward with the work that we want to carry on. Yesterday I was talking to a group of teachers, and this kind of narration, we use it as a quote, but I don't have the quote ready, so I'll tell it in my own words. How Montessori describes the adult, the educator. Now, educator is the parent, the adult, the society, and the teacher, the trained adult. Everybody is a teacher. And she talks about how the educator is, in this case, present case, the parent. So let's look at parents as the educators. The adults are like, they have to have the humility of a servant, of a very obedient servant. An obedient servant who prepares many varieties of dishes, for the master. Who's the master? The child is the master. So this obedient servant, different varieties of dishes, and lays it on the table, and then waits upon his master to choose which one he or she wants to eat or have or taste, or maybe reject all. This obedient servant does not nag the master, tell the master that this is what you must eat, this is very tasty, you should eat it, you should try, I made it with a lot of love. But the master doesn't want to have. Will the obedient servant push the master any further? And this, let us hold on to this idea that child is a master right now, and we are the servants, and the child has to exercise his or her free choice, absolute free choice. Unless the child is actually doing something destructive, then the choice is withdrawn. then the child is no more free and no more the master of that environment when he or she is creating any destructive, is demonstrating any destructive behavior. But otherwise, under all normal circumstances, the child is the master, and we all have to serve the child like an obedient servant. Now imagine yourself what your role is as a parent, and what we need to do is just offer things and they make the choice. And the teachers are going to help you with creating this kind of choice for your child. So do engage, don't miss this effort that teachers will be making and meeting teachers, parents in group. Please take those seriously, because that's what will drive the work forward. Children. For children who are capable or who are at a higher development level of doing independent work, teachers will engage with them one-on-one. But children who are young will be engaged through the parents, and children can peep in, come take a look at what the teacher is saying and go away, run away. That's what they will do. They'll come, peep in, and they'll run away. I just saw, I think Adele's son came in. He came in with a lot of excitement, and he didn't find it interesting. I mean, he came with all his will, but then he went away also, because it does not, he's there still, he's come back. So how interested is he in looking at the screen? Even if I'm telling, it is not of interest. Let's accept that fact. So we will make differential approaches for different learners, and trust the school in taking care, trust the school and the teachers more. I think I feel very proud that more than me, the teachers feel very concerned about the well-being of the children. And when we reviewed whatever happened in the month of April, I was so happy to hear that, what worked, what didn't work. We're not going to do this because this was of no help. So I congratulate the entire team, which was able to reflect and learn from the experiences, and has decided that we do not wish to engage with the very young children directly. They can peep in, peep out, step in and step out, but the engagement will be through parents. And this has been really thought through, and it is just not us. Trust us on this. The entire Montessori community worldwide is deeply concerned and is not wanting to get into this in a rush. We want to think and then do. And there has been a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions at Montessori schools to come up with the best steps that we can take as educators, so that the well-being of the child, especially the well-being of the child's mind, is taken care of. Because what we lose now, we will never get it back. Understand that. That's how sensitive this age is, and that's how precious this age is. So we will do whatever best, keeping in mind researched, studied, verified information about what is the right way to engage children. And I think that's all that I have to say, and we should carry on with what we want to do next. Shurobi, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Moiza. So before we proceed with, we've already started getting a few questions. Please do drop in your questions in the chat, because we want to be able to touch upon as many questions and as many points that parents would like to discuss today. And before we begin with the questions, I'd invite Mrs. Helen to speak and share her thoughts.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Shurobi. Thank you, Moiza. Shurobi and Moiza, very beautifully you both set the tone and said it all, actually. Before we move on to the questions, but I see very few questions there. Parents, please come up with your questions, because this is what we plan to do today, is to answer all your questions, whatever the queries are. Come up with it. At least that way we will be able to reach out to you through your questions. So even before we go to the question session, just very briefly, I want to quote Montessori from few books, like at least two maybe, and another saying from a very senior Montessorian. Just now, because we have done so many sessions, not just with you, I've been doing with so many other parents, and endless suggestions. We are continuously saying, do this, do that, provide this, provide that. We're constantly saying that's not going to help, because the situations are different in each home. Each child is different. The parent set of adults around the child is different. The situations are different. Mood swings are different. Same child, same parent, same home, but moods are different. So whatever suggestions we may give may work, may not work, may work extremely well with some and may not with the others. So you know what the senior Montessorian said? He said, give parents core principles of love, not scripts, not recipes. He says, give them the core principle of love, and that will overguide them. That will empower them, because work is love made visible. You know, if you engage children in various ways, that's proof of your love for the child. I mean, not proof. I mean, your love for the child is visible by engaging the child with work. And that your love for your child is one of a kind. And there are millions. So you have to take little from everywhere, the ingredients, and take different scripts and different recipes and make one special recipe to suit your child. And to give you the core principles of love, your teachers will be guiding you with everything that's required. And this love is intelligence. And in Absorbent Mind, if any of you have the book Absorbent Mind or haven't had an opportunity to read, the last chapter in Absorbent Mind talks about love. And one quote one of the trainers said was, love is intelligence. You know, you have to intellectually gauge the situation, intellectually identify and prepare one particular recipe that suits your child intellectually, not hereditarily, not culturally. You should not say, this is what I did, this is what my parents did to me. Culturally, this is what we believe in. I mean, everything put together with all those understanding, and understanding the need of the child, understanding the situation that you are in, intellectually prepare a special recipe for your child. And then before we go to the question, I want to leave one quote from Secret of Childhood. Again, if you have the access, please read, or maybe later we can put that for you. We must walk with the child, not the child with us. Moisa said just now, give them that time. Are we ready to give that time to the child? Because this is the child's time. So we can't expect the child to walk with us. My work, my routine, my structure, my schedule, my plans, my wish, my aim, my hope, my plans for the child. No. I repeat, we must walk with the child, not the child with us. This is if we together want to help, this is the practical help we can give to this very important period. I don't know what period Montessori spoke about when she wrote The Secret of Childhood. Just now I want to take this as this COVID period. Actually, she meant the child below 6 years, the first plane, this group children, that's what she meant. But I want to customize it to this particular period that we are facing through. I read the whole thing again. We must walk with the child and not the child with us. This is the practical help we can give to the child. This help we can give to this very important period. Yeah. Now we'll go to the questions, and please ask questions. Yeah. Thank you, Shurobi.
Thank you, Helen ma'am. So we have a few questions already here, and I'll just start reading them out. My child is a new admission to Pebble Creek, and it's the first time exposure to Montessori methodology. He is in grade 1. My question is how his learning would progress with this distance approach.
I think the next question is also that both are new add-ins in this.
Yes, the next one is my daughter is 2 years old and she is more interested in interactive sessions rather than one-sided conversations or recorded videos. Learning should be more customized to each kid. That is the philosophy of Montessori kind of learning. What is the endeavor to keep that in the spirit?
Okay. Sorry. No, I saw another question. My daughter
there
is
is
new
another
to school.
question. Yeah.
This is her first year in school.
Yeah.
How will online sessions help her? And she doesn't want to sit in front of the screen.
Yes.
This is what we say, follow the child. You know what Montessori says, follow the child. The child doesn't want to sit in front of the screen. Just, respect that act of this child and not force this child to sit in front of the screen. Moisa answered this question already by saying provide, shapes, provide papers, provide writing instruments, that is pencil, preferably pencil. Don't leave sketch pens, don't leave pens. You can leave crayons, you can leave color pencils, but not sketch pen. Sketch pen takes its own shape. Even if the child puts the pen on the paper, it blots and some shape will come out of it. So please don't put sketch pen, leave a pencil, because pencil will take the impression of the movement of the hand. So pencil is the ideal instrument that should be left. You can show the child how to sharpen the pencil. So have in a bowl, a small bowl, have the sharpener and sharpen and leave the pencil shaving in that bowl. So in one corner, provide few sheets of paper where you've already drawn some shapes. It can be letters, it can be shapes, you can leave some objects, you can leave some things on the shelf or table, and leave lots of loose papers of different shapes, different colors, and different sizes in one box. Ideally, you should have 2 boxes. You don't have to buy any new boxes. If you have any, sari, you buy clothes, you get those cute boxes, the paper box. If you have that, you can decorate it, and otherwise also it's okay. But ideally, if it's possible, just stick some plain paper or color paper over it. Have 2 boxes. In one box, leave varieties of papers, different shapes, different sizes, different colors also, so that the child can make a choice from all of this. The same scribbling, if the child has done on a white paper, the same thing the child may want to do on a color paper. And the same thing may want to do on a square paper or a rectangular paper. So different size, different. So we are actually, the child naturally will repeat, and we are also supporting and promoting that repetition by giving all this different size, shape, and sizes and shapes and textures and colors. If possible, cut all of them and put it in one box. And after the child has drawn or traced or colored, show the child where to leave this paper. Just because we are asking you to trace doesn't mean the house has all the papers thrown around, or they crumble it and throw it. Leave it in the box. Later you can decide what you can do with this. You can either give it to people, or the child may decide to gift it to somebody, or bring it to school when they come back. Collect all of this. That will actually help the teachers to understand what was happening with the child, where the child is, if possible. Again, just because I'm saying this now, don't go on this thing of providing papers and collecting those papers and say mandatory, otherwise how will the teachers know from where to take off? Don't do that. If your child is doing, I'm just giving you an option of where to put this, to show the child from where to take and where to put. Yeah, I'm just taking off from what Moisa said, and many more help for your children of this age group who are new to school, the teachers will do. You're all working and planning around that, and They will be doing it, as Shurobhi said, small groups of parents. They will be guiding the parents as to what to do with the children.
Yeah, I just want to, sorry, Moiza, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to bring to everybody's attention, whatever is happening with your child at home today, all this, all these thoughts that we are getting about distance learning and distance education, this is what is happening with every child across the country, whatever kind of school it is, whether it's a Montessori school, it's not a Montessori school, children are in this situation of distance learning. But what we are trying to do with this distance learning matters the most. As we have already, as parents also, you would have experienced that sitting in front of the screen, engaging, for older children, more than socializing, it's not going to offer too much of learning for them. And with very young children, they will not be able to identify. Like this question about the 2-year-old who's interested in conversations, it is absolutely essential, and that is what the developmental phase that they are going through. Conversations matter the most to small children. The more conversations you have with them, the better foundation you will be laying for their various academic skills which are related to reading, writing, and all of that. And whether they are in a Montessori school, they are new to this education, or they've come from another school, they do not need to unlearn anything. Whatever your child's level is, that is where the teacher will talk to you, understand, and that is the help that will be offered to you. So let's say your child has already learned letters and numbers or whatever it is. Beyond that, what is the help you should give in keeping in mind the spirit of Montessori, keeping in mind the prepared environment, the choice, allowing the child to take their own learning further. That is the help that teachers will provide to every parent and every child. And this may mean that if your child is new to this and you as a parent are new to the school, probably teachers will spend more time talking to you and getting to know you, your home situation, about your child, and that's how the plan will be made. Moiza?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the concern about new admissions, the teachers will reach out individually. So it's all under consideration. So have patience, they will reach out to you. And we understand that a new child will find this, being caught in this situation is quite unfortunate, that you're entering a new academic year online. But I think the teachers will create the comfort for the child by having a one-on-one interaction with the parent and child, and design something that is very personalized for the child to fill in this gap till the schools reopen. After we are sure that it's absolutely safe for children to come back to school. Then we have the next question is about, as Shurobhi I think has answered, that yes, we would like things to be interactive, and we'll have to continuously observe children. They believe that they want to have a conversation on the phone, but we really need to face-to-face interaction. But then we also need to observe each child who is responding to which kind of engagement in which way, and design things further. So teachers are really looking at grouping children with some similar needs and their responses, and that's the way forward that has been designed. So groups will be created based on interest, abilities, to a certain way of approaching. So it will not be a uniform approach, a standard blanket approach for everybody. So personalized experiences will be created for small groups. Teachers will work on and start communicating with you very soon. Yes, Shurobhi, what are the next questions that?
So Montessori is an activity-based learning, and online learning has no impact in actual learning for these children. Please propose a different plan, maybe a gap year.
Yeah, that's of course an option if you have the time. Why not, for parents who can support. I feel you right here, Dipali, when you're saying that the online learning, whether it has the desired outcome, maybe not. Even with the senior grades, I mean, children even in 11th and 12th grade are struggling with the online engagement, because it is very rapid fire kind of thing, and things take off and children are not able to cope up because there's no interaction. This is not real classroom, so it is becoming a challenge. So as we said, the alternative plan is to prepare the home environment in such a way that children are able to carry on with learning, and let's not define learning to textbook letters and numbers. Let us look beyond to skills. And this is not what I am saying. It is not my fan, or it is not something that only Montessori is talking about. This is what CBSE is talking. This is what I think we shared a link with all the parents, which talks about building skills. So for learning, for memorizing, for recall, for creativity, we have to develop certain skills. Then only they can be applied, and they come out as reading, writing, and number work and everything. So let's focus right now on building skills. Skill writing is just not picking up a pencil and a paper and you're ready for writing. That's not how it. That's not the only component of writing. There's a lot of preparation for skill to be developed, the mind to be enriched, the vocabulary to be enriched, being exposed to all various kinds of stories, so that the creativity is developed. So these are things that we can do, and this is the right time to offer, because I know many parents are busy. I won't say it's the right time actually, but maybe this is what we need to do right now. This is what is possible right now. That's what we must yes, alternative approaches are being thought of, and you will hear from the teachers very soon in small groups. So let's wait for that. Next question I'm reading: how can the parent replace a well-trained teacher? The time when teachers are available is the time we work for office. Children missing the time at school. My child, being to Montessori form of schooling for the first time, would is going to have adjusting to the situation. We fear we might not give enough time to the child, and this is exactly why you need to prepare your environment, home environment, so that children be free to engage with the work that they want to do without your presence, without you hovering around them. And this is what the teachers will guide you with, and we will be looking into this. What is the preparation for your child? For new children, maybe we'll have to do some extra work and some extra engagement with the parents. But children who have been here for over a year, they know exactly what they do with the paper, what they do with the pencil, how they wind up the work, what are the possibilities, how they can explore. They know about it because that's what they have seen or they've done here at school. So we design something that does not need you to sit with them and make them work. And you should not think that your job is to teach them letters and numbers again and again. I'm saying they should develop this skill through activities that they choose with their free will, with free will. But you have to offer that. That should be available for them, like, that obedient and the faithful servant who prepares everything. So do the task. Take the time out, understand what you need to do. It is most of the time, it is just giving them some shapes, paper, pencil. That's it. They will do a lot of work. Give them a lot of beads, give them a lot of blocks, give them a lot of picture books. All of these things are what are needed, and then they will not be coming and disturbing you. If you offer them and pre what they need, and you place it there, then you are making them independent, and there's lesser reason for them to come to you asking for things. That I want to paint now. Can you give things? And for that, you will have to leave your work and go get things and offer it to them. But if you tell them, some days you would want to paint, someday you would like to sketch, someday you would like to write, someday you look at some pictures, someday you would like to read. Here are all the things that you would like to do. And make sure that you review that material from time to time to see whether how the stocks are. If you make it once and then do not review at the end of the day whether the stocks are available for the next day, then again they'll be coming to you to ask for that. And they again become dependent on you, and again it becomes a hindrance for you and hindrance for them both. You can't carry on their work and they can't carry on with their work. So prepare the environment, and I'm sure the teachers will guide you. I think the same question Dipali also has asked, that we are not able to, and it is Dipali, since you are also trained, you know how to prepare, I'm sure, and teachers will definitely help you out. Shurabhi, you can take the next questions.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I just want to add that we are talking a lot about how to prepare the place for children. At the same time, parents of very young children, you also need to look at what are the skills that your child is learning at the moment. There may be older children who are ready to write or ready to read. Uh, those with those children, we'll have to prepare the environment differently. And they're very young children who are just learning to coordinate their movements, who are just learning to eat by themselves, who are just learning to probably dress by themselves. Whatever is real, whatever is the real skill that is that currently the child is building, that is their learning in the moment, and that is what we need to support. And when teachers are reaching out to you, these are the things they are going to find out. What is your child's age? What are the developmental observations you have seen? What is it that you want your child to do? And this is what we have to do for them. So across age groups, the prepared environment will look the preparation that parents will have to do will be different. Another thing is, there are lots of children, take any age group, the child doesn't have to be taught for 6 hours. Not even in the school, no teacher is engaging the child with any child continuously for 6 hours. At least in a Montessori house of children, it is not that. And for people who are working from home, parents, whatever your child is bringing to you, whatever they are presenting, whether it's about eating, or whether it's about a picture card, or it's a book, whatever it is that they are bringing to you, first thing is you respond to that. That in that itself there is so much of learning that the child will be so much of learning that you will support. It will also help you and your child to get into the flow of how you will follow your child's observation, child's learning and interest. When you start observing what your child is interested in and what is their current development, the phase of development that they're going through, that is the support you require, and that is what teachers also will be helping you with. I just want to add here, we have spoken a lot about writing and scribbling and all of that. Young children will not be able to color within the shapes and boundaries, but they will be able to scribble. There are two ways to look at it. One, that they will be wasting paper, if you look at it like that. The second thing is, scribbling has the highest amount of brain activity going on. If you look at any research about writing and scribbling, please do this little bit of homework. If you know a little bit about development, I can assure you that your anxiety levels will be much lower. And scribbling is one of the first most important things to activate the brain of children. And everything that they do, if they are just playing with water or whatever it is that they're doing with their hands, as long as their hands are engaged, there will be learning happening. And definitely we will take this ahead with parents and children individually, in small groups, as best as it makes sense to everyone. So there's a question here: do we have an option of borrowing the learning material from school and help children learn? Moiza or Helen, do you want to respond to that?
I'm sorry, I was distracted thinking about answering the previous question. So I'll go to that question again. I was, for parents who are working from home, it will be God sent. It will be liberating you actually if you follow the teachers, their guidance, and set up your place, follow their instruction, and help your children become physically independent. It will be a blessing for you. You both can coexist. The child will work from home, you will also work from home independently. That is, if you give up this fear, I know you're worried that we are not thinking of, the school is not thinking of people who are working from home. No, you are the most thought of people all the time. We know that you're busy. You know that you have to work from home, and so you're not available for your children, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. Somebody's written, I think, only guilty. You don't have to feel guilty. In fact, the child will copy you. You're sitting and you're engaged, you're engrossed, you're doing your work. The child also will imitate you by doing his work or her work, if everything is provided and child is made independent in terms of material and how you show and everything together. For this, you will get enough help from the teachers of what to do, how to support the children. So don't worry about that. So now I go to the second question. I'm constantly saying, parents who are working, don't worry, you'll be helped, and that support from the school and from the teachers will come as a blessing. What's the another question? Borrow material. I'm going to that. I'm trying to read. I'm not
Yes.
finding it. Sorry.
So is there an option where parents can borrow material from the school?
I don't think. I mean, that's not encouraged, because it's not just the material that's going to help the child. If the child is in that stage, with some addition, or the child is now has memorized all the combinations and he has to now do what to say, or move on to another level. In that stage, maybe you can prepare some material at home, but buying material or borrowing material is not going to help. And at that stage, all the more it is important that the child weans away from the material and starts working on the paper. So right help for that group of children also will be coming from the teachers, because the teachers also know at what level the children are. So ideally, at least I feel personally, that material should not be borrowed from school.
Yeah. So it's just not for the reasons that Helen mentioned. It's also practically not feasible. What we can't do for all, we can't do for one child. And it is a combination of materials. It's just not one thing in isolation that is of help. There is a lot of variety around the same concept, and they all have to consolidate a particular concept. So I think that will not help. One thing for this reason. Also, what do you do with that material? The child do with that material? Who will present it, and how? It is not in the context of the material changes completely when it is outside that environment. The children, the social group, the community, the choice, the waiting, the refusal, so many things are there associated with that material, just not the material. It is, for example, the pink tower. The child wants to work, but it's not available because some other child is working. So see what all is involved in that. The child wishes to work with the pink tower, but the pink tower is not accessible to him or her because some other child is working with it. So what is it doing? It does something to the child emotionally. There is a rejection that the child is facing right now, and there's a disappointment the child is facing right now. And he's a young child. You're talking about a 2.5-year-old child not getting what he wants to work with. But what does he tell himself or herself to either wait for that material to become free or make the next choice? What is the next best thing I want to do other than this? And this is the essence of it. So context of material in the prepared environment is different, and it will become totally different when it comes to home outside that environment. So let us not get worried about that material. And when they come back, they're free to access. They will get they go at it and all of that. So that is not feasible right now. But as Helen said, children who are reaching a certain level of reading, certain level of number work, certain level of mathematic operations, teachers will offer them materials that will support their further work based on the present level of the child. So teachers will do that. They're working on it, and they will have a one-on-one engagement with you to offer that. Next is flexibility with timings, teachers' flexibility with timings. I can't promise anything on that, but that's something that we can consider as an exception, but it becomes difficult because we'll not be working with one group. We're going to work with smaller groups, and you can choose which timings works. Those things, again, we'll have to discuss with the teachers and work that out. We will definitely try to accommodate, but I don't know how far we will succeed. So I promise beyond what is possible, but I think it will be taken into consideration. And if it's within our scope of work, and if it's possible, because as we said, we're not going to work with the whole community in one session. There'll not be one session. There'll be several groups that will be working throughout the day. We're going to have working hours for teachers from 8:20 to 3 p.m. And in that, we will have to interact with the teachers, with the parents, design things, all of that. So we have to see feasibility for that. But if there's any chance to accommodate this, I'm sure the teachers will go out of the way to help and support you in this regard. Then the last question that I see here is about what is the practical and logical thing to do? You know, what we really are anticipating. Of course, I don't know what's gonna happen. Nobody knows. But one thing I know for sure, that we will not reopen school till absolutely safe. Even if the government is saying like the lockdown has been lifted and the number of cases we know where it is, it's skyrocketing right now. And it is absolutely unsafe actually right now to be moving around, but we all have started moving out for some reason. I'm here at school for the last 2 weeks. So we have, started moving out of our homes, but with children we'll be extra cautious. And that we had was that we want to make the engagement of children less and less online and more practical activities at home and preparing environment for which the teachers will engage with parents and tell you what to do. And children who are at the transitioning stage where they have begun to write, read, and do some amount of number work, with them teachers will engage directly. So I think more understanding can be built when teachers reach out. Then you will understand, and then you will have your specific child-centric requirements, which teachers are going to address. They'll be more accessible to you over phone, online, and there'll be more sessions which are decided. It will be scheduled meetings, so it will not be unexpected for you. And having said that, some parents, some children will still face issues with technology. You know, there can be glitches with internet, there can be non-availability of gadgets. I can assure you, you will not miss out on anything. We'll catch up, we'll work on all of those things. You will not miss out. We are doing this to connect and engage children and parents meaningfully. But if for some reason you miss out, don't panic, please. We will find an alternative. We will do something about it. But the last thing here is panic about that children are missing out on their learning. They aren't. Over to Shirobhi.
Right. Thank you, Moiza. Thank you, Helena. So, if we have missed any question from your side, please raise your hand, because I think we have gone over most of the questions. So I just want to add to that, with teachers' flexibility, of course, teachers are planning, and like Moiza has said, they will share the schedule with parents. So parents will know in advance what are the timings that children will be able to interact with teachers, and at what time parents will be able to interact with teachers. And definitely like we said from the beginning, and we've been continuing to say, that the whole aim of taking the learning forward is to make it meaningful and is to help parents. And we are thinking a lot from the point of view of parents who are working from home, and there are very little minute things that you can do in your home to set it up. We are not we are not expecting any elaborate setup at home, so please do not also don't feel pressurized that now you have to create a different setup. It's just certain things that you need to take care of for children, that have certain things in order and certain things available. These are the only two things that you need to have as part of the setup. Specific materials or any specific writing instruments or books, whatever it is that you need to have, teachers will be able to tell you specifically to guide you about your child's learning at whatever level of development they are. So
can I say something?
Yes.
That's a lot of assurance from both of you, from whatever Moiza said and what Shirobhi is saying. That's actually a lot of assurance. As a parent, if I'm a parent, and if I'm having children of your age group, I'm really convinced, and also you can see the effort and the intention behind reaching every child in whatever level they are. Now you have to just wait for the teachers actually to get into action, because they are also very enthusiastically preparing to reach out and support and provide help, offer help to children and parents alike at home. And I'm sure it's going to, actually I'm now, excited and eagerly waiting to see the outcome of, it's not because of this COVID situation that this kind of preparation has to be done at home. Ideally, irrespective of whichever school your child goes to, Montessori, wherever, with children around at home, every home should provide arrangements like this. Not because the school is just now they are not able to come to school. When they come to school, they have support. When they come back home, because we don't know when that urge is come. This wanting to scribble, we are thinking only during the school timing, 8 to 3 or 8 to 12, they'll have that urge. For all you know, during that time, they may not want to scribble. Though the school would have provided all the papers, all the shapes, and all the freedom and facilities, everything is there and people are there around to show, they may not want to do that. In their timetable, they may not have that urge to scribble. And for all you know, when they come back home, that's when they want to do. I've heard parents say, in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock, the child woke up, took the paper, what was available there, and started scribbling at 1 o'clock in the night. Because there's no time. It's just that urge. When that urge will come, we don't know. So don't even think that just because the school is closed, now the COVID, and so we have to prepare homes. Ideal situation is you should prepare your home to support the child's needs, because we don't know when that urge will come. And we should be ever ready to receive that urge, ever ready to support that urge. And what urge, we don't know. It can be writing, it can be drawing, or it can just be transference. It can be for coordination. It can be for talking, want to read stories, or somebody to listen. Any kind of work. And thirst, the child is thirsty. Will he feel thirsty only in school? The child can be thirsty at home. And is there a specific time for the child to be thirsty? When you're working or not working? No, the child can feel thirsty anytime. So the things needed for that, to quench that thirst, should be ready. The way we arrange things at home for to cater to all our needs, every human being, not adult, the sad thing is every adult's needs are taken care of. It's met, it's provided. But we think children don't need that kind of support. We think school is doing it, so we don't have to. So if all these things, if you start reflecting on, actually we want to prepare you so that you start thinking about it, start reflecting. So when the teachers reach out to you, you will be more receptive, and you will start understanding why they are doing this. Whatever help they are giving you it's not going to be one time. I mean, it's not going to be again and again. It's actually going to be one time. You will feel liberated. You will also know the difference when you set up the place, when you see your children being independent, and so much of learning happening in all that engaging activity that the child will be doing, and then the confidence that the child will get out of doing things all by himself and not having to depend on people around for whatever his needs are. And I can foresee a amazing setup and amazing learning environment for children.
Thank you, Anita.
Is there any question? No?
So, yeah, there are no more questions in the chat space.
How about if somebody wants to talk and ask the question, not type?
I have
Yes, sir, please go ahead. Your voice is echoing, which is why we are not able to hear you well.
Yeah, is it fine now?
Yes, yes.
I have in the chat I have posted a couple of. Okay. So when it comes to practicality, right? We know it will not be going to come to normal for sure, right? And things will be out of control, right? So when coming to, I don't know whether we can directly compare actually, like how it is different from other online schools.
If I'm understanding right, your question is how is our online engagement different from other online
Yes.
engagements at various schools?
Yes.
Okay, so as Moiza has already said, a lot of, at least the Montessori schools across the country are on the same page in the way they are offering support, planning to offer support to children and parents. And with other schools, I'm sure they will, every school will have made their own plans of how to go online and how to interact. But the question always is, how meaningful is it for children? Whatever is happening online, is it really reaching the age group that we are working with or not? And with very young children, like we've said, online really is not something that is going to reach to them, which is why we are going to make all the effort to work with the parents. Moiza, is there anything you'd like to add?
Here actually I have a query. So
Yeah.
Parents will not be available at home to work with them. Their grandparents will be there.
Yeah.
So how they will take it forward? I mean, that will be a challenge for them.
Exactly. So as we mentioned, I think Shruvi spoke, Helen spoke about it, and I also mentioned it. This will be a real challenge for most parents because as things open up, people will get back to work. Right now, parents are working from home. Very soon, they'll go back to office also probably, and schools may not still open. So children will continue to stay at home. So we are talking about how we can prepare the home environment for child's independent work based on the way we function. Even if they were coming to school, what children would be doing at school, the same things they can continue doing at home also. And that's where the teachers will support parents for preparing their environment. So the grandparent, whether it's grandparents or parents or a caretaker at home, the child can still continue to work on his or her developmental activities. And in developmental activities, we are not talking about instructional approach to teaching and learning. That's something that we're not at all doing in a Montessori classroom. There is no instructions per se, but there are materials and there is a preparedness designed in such a way that the child can independently carry on with that work. And that work or those activities are not aimless activities. They are skill building activities. Though you may not be able to see it directly right now, like how they support the child's mathematical mind, or how they prepare them for reading and writing, or how they prepare them for control in regulating their emotions, and so many aspects of overall personality. So our aim will be to help parents prepare an environment which the child can work independently with least amount of supervision from the parents, from the adult. And that's how in the Montessori works. Montessori environment, children come in age 2.5 to 6, they enter the environment and they pick and choose the activities that they feel like. The choice is for them. They make the choice. The teacher doesn't tell them what to do. But teacher does engage on certain things with children about how to do, what to do. That bit will be passed on to you through the teachers about what you can tell your children and what they can do. And at this point, we will offer activities that they are already familiar with and what they need to repeat, which are developmentally right and age appropriate. Does that answer your question, sir?
So do you need to carry out the printouts of the materials?
Maybe some things which if the teachers are recommending something, we will request for prints, and if parents are finding it difficult, we'll make the prints available, which parents can come and pick up and leave from here. So there are many things that we're thinking about. Like, there are some children who don't have even internet access. They don't have a gadget. How do we work with them? So we are thinking of every stakeholder here with different, setup and facilities readily available. So there'll be least amount of printed work for very young children. Maybe for the older children, there will be some frequent printing, and the school will support parents who don't have the facility to print, but they'll have to come and collect it from the school. We'll print it and keep it ready for some parents who need it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, Kavita.
Ma'am, just I want to ask you that you are telling that children will be engaged by their own. We cannot guide them. But we are staying in a one-bedroom apartment. My grandparents will stay in the hall. Most of the time, the TV will be on. So she don't want to do her work by own. She want to join with them and watch the TV 24/7. And my parents, like they want to TV all the time. So I cannot avoid both of them, and it is a struggle for us what to teach her also, because it's about our like initial stage. If we are insisted her to watch TV all the time, I think I'm spoiling her. But we cannot avoid the apartment also, because we are staying in single bedroom, as you can understand about the Indian families. So just to guide me, how can we avoid this? How can we solve this?
Complex.
Hello.
Helen, yeah, go ahead.
Actually, if all these things, whatever Moisa said, if you set up, you will be surprised. Your grandparents only will start engaging the children. Grandparents will start showing them how to trace and draw. You know, it's natural when you see your grandchildren struggling with something, don't know how to take paper, and they start writing and they start scribbling. Or if when the teachers are helping you, involve the grandparents in the Zoom meeting, in the Zoom call, so that they are they take the responsibility of setting up the place and showing children, not just drawing and all that. The grandparents take the responsibility of show them how to pour water, how to set up all that on a lower surface, bottle and glass, and arrange that, or to sweep and mop and dust, cut vegetables, fold clothes. These things, anyway, the grandparents also, if they are quite aged, their pace also will be, they also will slow down. So I'm hoping that if they are involved in setting up and showing the children how to do this work, the responsibility can be transferred onto them, and automatically we are hoping that the TV time may come down slowly, gradually, but it will, the possibility is more of such a thing happening if you give them the responsibility. Give the grandparents responsibility of taking up ownership to listen, to set up, and to support the children.
And one more thing I want to add here, Kavita, that as we said, teachers will be reaching out to the parents, and they will be personal. Like we said, every house is different. Every house is experiencing the same time, but in different boats. We are all experiencing the same, but our situations are very, very different. So every home is different. Every parent is different. Every child is different. Every situation in every house is different. And one single thing cannot be designed for all, and we are aware of this. And teachers will be reaching out to you, and you must share this situation with them, and they will suggest and plan, and we will discuss it internally about what support can be offered, what can be designed specifically for your child, and whether we need to have a conversation with the entire family about how we need to support this child. It involves sometimes parents also may not be considerate towards what the learning needs of a child is, and not because they don't wish to, because they may not be aware of the damage that it's causing the very, very young child. So it's lack of awareness sometimes that makes us do certain things. So our aim is to educate everyone, parents and families, and sometimes we also most of the time we are insisting on talking to families. So even during orientations, we inform parents to bring the extended families that are members who have some kind of influence on the child. Sorry, I just had to sign on the paper. So I think the teachers will get back to you, and we'll design something that will meet the needs or help your child overcome the struggles or the challenges that he or she faces right now, and we'll work around that.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Yes.
ma'am, I'm Shubhan and Karthik's mother. They are of like twins, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been 3 months. They were like very addicted for playing and playing and playing. If I say to sit and scribble, also they were like very addicted for playing. How can we manage now, like for online sessions and all worksheets and all of that?
So I want to take that because you use the word, you use now, they're addicted. You're saying
Yes.
screen on playing on the screen?
No,
so
no,
they're
no, not.
addicted.
Most of the time they play, ma'am.
Playing with
Half
each
of the
other.
time. No, play with each other, fight with each other. It's difficult to control their emotions and all. They're like the same age now, ma'am.
Yeah, so first thing is that if they're playing and if they're addicted to playing, that's something very happy to be about, to feel happy about. If you're looking at them playing, and as long as they're not hurting each other, you really don't need to interfere. This thing about getting them to scribble, you don't have to get them to scribble. That was not our the reason why we mentioned it. It's the reason why we mentioned it is because scribbling is not really looked at a learning skill or anything as important, but just to let parents know that even though we do not understand what children are doing, there is something that is working from within. There is an urge, and whatever they are doing, we need to support them, other than of course getting into the spaces where they might hurt themselves. But yes, your particular situation, the teachers will be very aware about, and please wait for the teachers to contact you, and definitely they will help you with your situation at home and how to take care of them. As much as I know from the two individuals that are there with you, they both are quite different from each other, and we really need to identify what is it that is different about them, and what are their particular interests, or what is it that we need to support them with. And our only request is for you to wait for the teachers to get in contact you, and then we can take it forward from there.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hi, ma'am. This is Sankeert. I think we had a few concerns, and since my daughter was 2 years old, we were really worried about it. But after hearing to all of this, I think we are reassured that things will move in the right direction. Maybe we might be, or we might need some flexibility. As we told, we have 2 kids at home. Some flexibility is required, but at the same time, I don't want to make it burdensome for the teachers as well, because even they have their personal life and they will be going through the same situation that we are going through, right? So it should not be a burden to either of us. So if it can be flexible, and if we can understand each other better and communicate more, I think it will be resolved.
Yes, sir. So like Moiza has already said, you will not believe how much the teachers are worried about the children, because one, they are not able to meet them, but every child that is in a teacher's environment is constantly at the top of the teacher's mind. And this is what we plan to do. We want to increase the frequency of contact with parents, therefore help them to support the child. And yeah, we hope and we thank you for understanding the teachers conditions as well. But yeah, teachers are really looking forward to connecting with parents one on one, and to connect with children through parents, or to connect with the older children directly. Thank you for that support that you have also offered. And with regards to flexibility, as far as possible, we will try and reach. If not on the particular day that you want or the teacher wants, there will be another session or another call that will come to you, and we will definitely get in touch with you. And we are making sure that we will track all of these things for ourselves so that we don't miss out on any child or miss contacting any parent.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Appreciate it.
So,
Hi, ma'am.
yeah.
This is Adrit's mom.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, he is new to the Montessori. He is joining into the grade 1 this year. It is my general question that he doesn't like to write anytime. Whatever you ask, he is ready to do or say and do anything, but he doesn't like to scribble or write or draw anything. So I would like to get suggestions from Helen or Moiza ma'am, whoever it is, like, what's the best way? When I ask, he say, I don't want to write. I don't like writing.
Before Helen takes it over, I want to add something here. This thing comes to me. Whenever we hear children, whenever we as adults think about the statement of doesn't want to write or doesn't want to do something, writing or whatever, we need to also give some thought to, is it just I don't want to or I'm not able to? You know, so children do hide the difficulties that they may have, or the lack of preparation for writing, or the kind of things that their writing leads to. Like, for example, if it's not neat, the commotion that follows, we all know what happens. Like, you know, if what goes, that what is the reaction and the response to a quality lesser than what is expected from the adult. So this of not being able to meet that expectation leads to statements like, I don't want to. That is the best, that's the only option that the child has been left with. So that's something that you have to look at, and then probably now Shrobi and Helen can take it ahead.
Very nice. Actually, past experience. The child may have had some past experience where everybody pounced on him. Not everybody, even one person pounces, is what handwriting? It's not on the line. This doesn't look like A. You know, very subtly also, you wouldn't have even scolded. You wouldn't even have told in a very harsh voice. But just picking up such things could have. I mean, we are not saying it may have happened, but that could be one of the reasons also for the child to say, I don't want to write. And what to write? Write, yes, but what to write? Instead of asking what to write, he says, I don't want to write. But if we have discussed something, if some topic has been picked up, and if you have spoken enough, and if you know your child is capable of writing, the writing skills are there, the ability is there to write, and then if you have discussed, out of 10 points that you have discussed, one word at least he will definitely want to write, if we have spoken enough. But if we have not given any thought, because writing is translation of thought, and if there's no thought worked up, nothing can overflow on the paper. I mean, that could also be one of the possibilities.
Yes, ma'am. He will say you 10 points. When you discuss, when I say 4 points, he will give me 10 more also on that topic, but he doesn't want to write. That is the problem with my kids. So that's what I was like, I thought, okay, let me get some suggestions.
It is also a writing. See, there are whatever I talk about how you have to be detached to get the larger goal. Like, you want your child to write. You want the child to use the right spellings, the right handwriting and everything. That is, of course, that's the aim. We all want the children to get there. But it cannot be achieved in the span that we hope that it will be achieved. It will be done when the child is ready and getting there. So when we start the journey of writing, how much patience we have with the errors. That first, let's get to writing. We'll fix the errors later. Right now, let the thoughts come on paper and we will fix it later. That is an encouragement. That is a conducive place that I write without thinking, you know, whether it's right or wrong. I'm writing right now. It's like just learning how to cycle. You just cycle. You're not bothered about a stone coming in the way. You're going to fall. You're going to bang. You're not bothered. You just learned how to cycle. Children just want to cycle. Okay, even if you have experienced that, that is the freedom they got, and they want to just do that first. Later, they will focus on following directions, being careful, applying the brakes at the right place, all of that, taking care of people around them. Otherwise, they'll be banging. I know when I learned cycle in a huge ground, really huge ground, I still went and banged the wall. You know, there was no reason for me to go and bang the wall, but there was nobody else in the ground. It was a massive, massive football ground. I think it was almost like 3 football grounds. It was really massive ground. And even in that empty ground, when I learned cycling as a kid, I went and banged the wall, the boundary wall. So, you know, writing also, let us look at, for every experience, give them that freedom first. Ki you first write, whatever, right, wrong, teda, meda, ulta, सीधा जो भी लिख रहा है पहले लिखो. उसके बाद we will take time to refine it. That is another process. But get them onto that writing. So I don't know your journey. We're not trying to you know, evaluate the journey, but these are things that take place in a typical journey that a child takes towards reading and writing. And many children, those so smart, they will tell everything. You know, there's no match to their intellect and what they've understood and what they can express. Their vocabulary is good, everything is good, but there is a barrier somewhere, and we need to understand, accept that there is a barrier that has been created. Maybe at home, maybe at school, maybe by a friend, maybe by a grandparent, maybe by an uncle, maybe by an aunt. We don't know who that barrier was, what created that. But it can be, it is just that barrier you have to overcome. So having a healthy, a kinder relationship with mistakes encourages children to write more freely. It'll be over to you. I think I took away your time.
And also that word, you know, writing can throw people off. Just word writing. So wait for your teachers. They will very nicely get them to do that work actually. Instead of calling it writing, just say, you know, we actually put it across in a very different way of saying, let's do this. Let's put that on paper. Maybe record that. Leave your message here for me. You know, whatever you are thinking of sharing just now, put it on the paper without using the word write. You can convey that in different forms, and I'm sure that teachers will be able to get that out on paper from your child.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, I was waiting for that. My kid has to interact with the new school and the teachers, and he might get, but unfortunately this all happened, and I was like, okay, let me ask the question now. That's all. That was the only intention.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. And all the activities that Helen has mentioned just now, these are the things that we do in the environment also. We have a message box, and when children are ready to write, we will tell them, go drop a message there for your friend or for your teacher or whatever it is. And that's how writing takes place. We don't even have to tell them that you need to write. So all of these things, there are lots of ways to approach activities with children. And I want to assure you that all our teachers are trained. They have been working with children sufficiently enough for many years, and they have seen all these kind of combinations, and they will be able to guide you and customize the help that is required for a parent or for a child. So I think it's 11:40 now, and we are close to the ending of this session. If we have one final question, we would like to take it. If anybody has one final question. And I know questions will not stop here. You will have more questions as the learning progresses and as activities happen and as you start involving with your children and their learning. So as we've already said, teachers will be available for you. And whatever question comes up, first thing is whatever is coming up, please approach the teacher. Even if it is the slightest, smallest doubt that you have, it will be very nice to interact with the teacher and get them to help the teacher to understand what's happening at your end. So somebody has requested for one-on-one session, especially for the new students. Yeah, this is already a part of the plan, and the only way teachers can work with parents and children is to get to know the families. That will be the first step for the new admissions, to understand what your situation is and what is the help you need, and that will be the first step. First step is always reaching out, and from there everything will progress. can we get teachers' contact numbers? We will make certain numbers available through which teachers will be connecting with parents, and teachers will let you know the various means of getting in touch with them. Definitely, we have environment email IDs where you can just write an email or post an email and say that we want to connect with the teacher, and that is also one of the mediums. Other than that, the phone numbers that will be available for parents to get in touch with teachers, we will send the communication about that. So here we are. Thank you for all the questions and all the responses. Is there a question from someone? Mr. Naresh? Okay. So, yeah, like I've said, this is just the beginning. This session was only to help you understand what the plan is going forward. And we thank you on behalf of all our teachers and the school for attending this session. We will also make it available to the entire parent community, so other people who have similar questions may also feel assured about our plans going forward. And I thank you for being here. Thank you, Helen ma'am, Moiza, all the parents, teachers who are on the session. Thank you so much for being here today. And we will connect with you soon individually. And we'll take it forward from there. Any final comments? Helen ma'am, Moiza, anything you want to add?
Thank you and all the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Together during this difficult time, together, I mean, let's work together as one nation, one family, one unit, one organization. Yeah, we understand you, and you should, and I'm glad somebody mentioned and understood. All of us are in the same situation. Actually, I don't know if you people are thinking the teachers are in a better off. They are in another world and they're not suffering. They don't have any issues. All of us, the way you are concerned and worried about the child and the situation, the teachers, the school, and all of us, everybody is equally thinking about and equally concerned, equally worried. And we are also going through all that you are going through in your homes. So we are all together in this crisis. So we will also come out successful in this journey. And so all the best to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Moiza, anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you. The time may be difficult, but children will always make it easy. We just have to tune into them. And that is what we are going to do. Right? So thank you all for being here. We'll sign out now and we will get in touch with you soon. Our teachers will get in touch with you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.